All right, so just a little bit of an update here on what I've been working on. I'm kind of chipping away at it, but here's the harness again, and you can kind of see I've removed, me and my friend Justin removed all the tape and the loom, and we've kind of, nothing has been cut, nothing has been taken out of here yet, except just exposing the wires. That harness right here, that's the one for the transmission speed and reverse lights. That harness, I got rid of entirely except for 3 wires, and we chased them back to this gray connector. Remember I was talking about, I was thinking I'm gonna need to keep it. And I have the 3 wires here. This is the oil gauge sensor for the factory Mustang gauge cluster for the oil pressure gauge. This is coolant for the coolant gauge, CLTG coolant gauge. And then the third one is the oil, trying to work on this through the lens here. This is the oil level sensor that went to the oil pan. So those are the 3 wires that I wanna maintain. So probably out on the car side, I may snip that wire and label it so I know what it came from, and then tee into wires that I'm gonna have to run. I'm gonna have to run my own 3 wires on my harness, and that's fine, no big deal. But then my next challenge is I want to kind of start. I don't really want to cut anything. I want to depin, so I want to depin some wires, and I took the factory boot, and there was absolutely no way I was going to be able to get the connectors through. So I took my shears and cut the boot as nice as I could, I guess. And then I want to get this stuff out of here. The AC. Here's all the emission stuff. Here's stock ignition connectors, things like that I don't need. This is the wheel speed sensor. These are those 2 plugs that I want to keep. Here's more AC stuff. So I guess I just want, there's the CCRM, there's your fan. This is the coolant level. So I'm just kind of working on that, but that's a rainy day project. And plus I don't need that right now. That harness, that's the engine harness, so we're gonna get rid of it. But today I want to work on the hot side. The hot side, I ordered 4 of these. These are 2.5-inch 90-degree bends. And as we talked about a little bit ago, here's the 3-inch collector. But the V-band flange, after the V-band flange, it necks down to 2.5. So if it necks down to 2.5 anyway, why don't I just neck it down right here? And that will give me clearance, crossing my fingers, that's going to give me clearance to clear my sway bar debacle I was showing you. So I was waiting for these parts to show up, and so I bought a reducer, and my plan is to just cut this off. All I want is this section. I just want as low profile as possible, and we're going to TIG weld in what I may even do is grind this collector back as far as I can. I may use my Harbor Freight grinder and grind this material. I want to make it. I want to choke all this up. I want to choke all this up so I can get in there and clear that sway bar. So I think the combination of so here's a 2.5-inch elbow. Here's my remnants of the 3-inch. I only have 1 of these left, but we're not going to need the 3-inch because our crossover pipe to the passenger side header where the turbo is 2.5. So I have no reservations about just running a 2.5-inch adapter. So I wanted to work on that today. And then I also have this is a V-band, a 2.5-inch V-band with the flanges, I guess you would say. This seems to be a nice one. I never bought one of these before, but this one seems in good shape. And then these I have, I think these are from Japan, 304, the little symbols. $20 for 4 of them. Let's get going. All right, so I did a little bit of grinding. You see how I cut the 2.5 inch and the 3 inch sections off of that reducer. Here's all that's left. I had my amperage a little too high. I just turned it down to 100. But then I just tacked in our reducer. Now we're going to try and grab our elbow here and kind of see which way we want to go. Now you can kind of see that I didn't want to grind it any farther down, because this is about as far as I want to go, because you see that you can see the 1, 2, 3, 4 header tubes, and if I keep going down, that's gonna I don't know, you kind of see what I'm trying to say. This is just gonna, this junction is gonna get worse and worse and worse. So right about here is kind of where I want to leave it, and I can fill that in with my TIG wire. So I've got stainless steel filler. So let's go test fit it out on the car, and maybe we'll take our Sharpie and one of our elbows, and I want to see which way does it want to go, and do we even need a full 90? Okay, ignore this power steering. That's a Fox body bracket I'm trying to get to work. It will work, but I have to establish my shims. Stay tuned. But here, you see, I kind of want to put the engine. The engine is just hanging off the motor mounts. I don't have the transmission on. But based off of pictures of the engine, it's right about a belt's width away from the CCRM bracket, so right about there. Okay, I'm happy with this. We clear the sway bar. Let me let's see. Can I see? What do you see? Do you see anything? I think we're gonna have to, I bought a little tubing bender. I think we may need to tweak those little power steering lines. You can see them right about there. We might need to tweak those, but I think right about here may do it for us. And I also am kicking myself because I bought that 3/8 phenolic spacer to clear our LS coils, but woof. I think what I got to do is maybe just take a washer out of here, and we're gonna have. I'm worried. I'm worried about clearance of this. But now we're not hitting. But once I put the boost pipe on, we might hit. So I might just pie cut this filler tube and boop, and re-weld something like that. Maybe a blade's width. Maybe I'll get my thick cutoff wheel. I'll give it a pie cut, and just angle it back. Worried about hood clearance, but anyway. I think we're gonna go with this. I think we're gonna go with this right about here. It's gonna be right about there. When the car goes over bumps, the sway bar is gonna go that way, because it's gonna go. The pivot point is right here on the frame, so it's gonna. But then when I jack up the car, it's gonna go away. So I guess if I bounce the car, I think we'll be okay. If worst comes to worst, I can mark this with a Sharpie after welding. Heat it up with a torch red hot, and just take a pipe and a hammer and dent it right there. Just dent it. I think we're gonna weld. Okay, I've been tinkering with this for two or 3 hours now. You kind of see what I've got. I have my 290-degree bends, and I've got the header. That, well, let's take that piece off. That's just sitting on there. But I've got the header. Remember, it's going to be right about here. So it's clearing my sway bar, and God, got miles of room there. I'm not worried about that. I guess if worst comes to worst, I can dent it here. But now, all I did was I've got my reducer, a 90, a little short section, a 90, and now I have to join up with my crossover pipe. So I think I'm gonna cut it. I mean, this bung I don't need. It's just a leak path anyway. Just get that out of there. So I think I might cut it here. Then we need to go a 90 and then another 90. So luckily I bought 4, so I've got 2 left. But I guess I need to figure out where to put the flange now. The V-band, I guess the V-band could go right there. But I just wanted to show you that. Almost there, getting there. And I guess I just wanted to say, I have the pipe coming above the sway bar. I could have gone down in here, but I didn't want to go in there because I felt like, how am I going to get the header bolted onto the engine? If I ever needed to take this out, I'd like it to be above the bar so I could, you know, just take it out. And then I also didn't, with this sway bar, this is going to be moving while the car is driving, and I didn't want the sway bar down in there. I didn't want it to get pinched. You know, I'm thinking this is probably better. But I still am planning here, but I think this will be all right. So I got, so far I have 1, 2, 3, 4 weld seams, but we'll be all right. I've got the gas and the filler wire. I guess I just wanted to take a before shot of it, you know. That's where the Fox body outlet is, but we're gonna shorten. I think I'm gonna cut it right about here. Right about here. To the left of that plug. And then that should be okay to get me a 90 and a 90. I gotta go up and then back. Okay, so I have to stop, but I wanted to show you how far I got. I think all we gotta do now is take my last elbow. I think I've got one more to go, and just kind of tune in this length. We have to finalize this length, and then weld it here. And then I think that'll be okay. And then this will all just be, the header will just be one continuous piece. But I think we'll be okay. So I think I just wanted to get that done, but I have to stop now. But let me keep going later. All right, so I think I've got the hot side mocked up here. You kind of see what it was. I cut off this. This used to be on this flex pipe, but I bought my 4 bends. You can see I've got them in there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are 2.5-inch 90s, and I got a couple short sections. 1, 2, 3, and then I've got my little. Remember, I was showing you that little 3 to 2.5-inch reducer, and that's all that's left of it. So I have to finish weld 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 seams. So, that'll be fun. But let's go check this out on the car. Okay, yeah, it fits. So remember, the engine's going to be about a belt's width away from the CCRM, so right about there. Now we're going to clear, and then we're going to clear. I may dent that. I may dent that bend right there. I may dent that, because when we go over bumps, the sway bar will go towards the exhaust. When the car goes up, like if you were to jack the car up, the sway bar will go away from the exhaust. But do wide angle. And I guess maybe if I have to, maybe if I have to, I can put the wastegate in this area, so somewhere along, maybe along here or along here, in case I can't fit it there. I could just put a block off plate there if I have to, but I think we're all set. So I'm gonna start digging this up. Then the only other things I want to mark is where the oil pan return is going to go for our oil line. And I really would like to make some kind of a brace, turbo brace. So I have to think about that. I want to make some kind of robust bracing. All right, I think it's all done. Turn a welder off there, but we got some welding done. And there we go. So we're gonna go out on the car now and see if it fit checks. But yeah, a little bit of a pain, but not too bad. So hopefully it didn't move during the welding operation. See, this one these two welds I hit with the wire wheel, but these I haven't yet, but a little warm yet, but yeah, okay, we're good. Let's go outside. All right, so I took the, I don't know what you'd call this, mid pipe, I guess, off, and right here is where the wastegate flange was. So I very crudely cut it off with the cutoff wheel, and then I just took a piece of, this is the remnants of our 3-inch to 2.5-inch reducer. So this was just about the right width, so I just welded in a patch. So now our wastegate will have to be relocated, but I was worried about this because this is very close to the power, no, it was very close to the ABS module. So I just wanted to maybe, because the wastegate wasn't going to fit there. So I think I might save this flange. This flange seems to be in good shape if this will fit. But I have my wastegate coming. It should be here Wednesday. So today's Sunday. But anyway, so now this piece is ready to go back on the car. And then now I want to work on, I have one more weld to do, and I'm thinking I might need to go out on the car, but it's basically going to be the weld at this end, and I think I want to trim about 1/4 inch off of this length. All right, I think I finally got it, but I had to modify right here. I put a little extension piece in, so we're gonna have to do 1, 2, 3 welds. I dented. Well, I have the wheel off, so the sway bar is a little bit out of position, but I dented right here. And so now what I'm going to do is pull the motor out, and then with it mocked up on the engine, I'm going to bring my TIG welder out here. It's a dual voltage welder. It'll run off 120, and this is, you know, a 47 thou wall thickness, so I should be able to easily tack. I just want to do some, maybe 4 tacks per joint, and then that'll make sure I'm in the right spot. I've got my 2 bolts in, so let's start pulling the engine now. All right, so doing a little bit of welding. I got some tacks there, some tacks there. So now I think it's safe. I'm gonna take it off and TIG it downstairs back on the 240 line. But the 120 seems to do all right. So let's do that. There we go. So this is pretty much the completed hot side, everything except the wastegate. The wastegate I think I might put right here on this bend, I'm thinking, but there's our, I have to polish it up, but and I like that this flange is pretty even now. So yeah, I think that's good. I think that that's fine. I think I'm going to leak check it. Next, we're going to weld right there for our oil line drain. So that's what I want to do next. So it's been a couple days, and I wanted to modify my plan a little bit. This is my little turbo oil line kit. It comes with some fittings and the pressure line and the return line. It's I think it was a 10 AN fittings for the return. So this is the fitting that came with the kit, and it's aluminum. It's not that I don't like it. It's just that I can't weld steel to aluminum. So I want to put the fitting right about here, maybe between these two, maybe centered between these two bolts. And I was thinking of welding a steel. I thought this might have been steel, but it wasn't. So then I was like, well, let me buy a steel fitting. But then I was like, if I weld, I don't care if the paint burns off on the outside, but on the inside, the paint's gonna burn off. And I guess I just don't want to deal with that. I was thinking, that's so pristine in here. I hate to fart with it by burning that with a weld. So I saw this Gizmochi, which seemed like it would work nice, and I read, and it makes sense. I'm going to put some Loctite. I'm going to put some red high strength Loctite on these threads, but all you got to do is drill a hole. And then there's 2 sealing washers, and then I'll crank that down nice and tight with some Loctite, and I think that'll be good enough. You know, that'll be just fine for all that is going to be low pressure oil return, and I'll use my step bits here, and it looks to be about a 700 diameter hole. So that's what I'm going to do for the oil return. Now I want to talk about harmonic balancers. So if you've been watching the channel for a while, you've probably seen this one. This is a harmonic balancer. Let me get the keyways lined up, I guess. So now our keyways are both pointing up. So this balancer is off of the truck we got the heads off of. This is from a 2000 Ford Explorer with the 5-liter 302, and the heads are right here. Here's the GT40P head. So these are going on the Mustang. There's our 4 bars, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's got the trick flow valves in it and everything. So those are good to go. I did those a few years ago. I've been tinkering around on this project for quite a while. And I grabbed this off the truck because I noticed it had this 36-1 trigger wheel. So this is how the Ford trucks do it. This is how Ford did it. I think it was called EIDS, Electronic Ignition Distributor. EIDS, what does that stand for? Electronic Ignition Distributorless System or something. They ran, it was 2 coil packs with 4 plugs per coil pack. But anyway, they were controlling the spark, I think, off of this, and then they had a cam synchronizer I was showing you to get it to work with full sequential injection. I believe on the Explorer it was a wasted spark setup, but it was sequential fuel injection. On our Mustang, we're not going to be running sequential anything. It's going to be wasted fuel and wasted spark. So we just need the crank sensor. We don't need any kind of cam sensor or cam sync or any kind of cam position reference. We just need crank. We just need to know where is top dead center cylinder number 1. That's all we care about. So this is the balancer off of the Mustang. This is off the 95 Mustang. And you notice that there's 4 bolts for the pulley. Here, the pulley is attached, and there's 3 bolts for the pulling the balancer. But the thing that I was reading about, and it is true, you can see that if I show you, this end of the balancer, this face of the balancer right here, that bottoms out against your timing gear, against the crank timing gear. So when you tighten the crank bolt, it just pushes the balancer against the timing gear. But you can see that the Explorer pulley, or I guess the balancer itself, is a tiny bit shorter, so your pulleys won't line up. And I guess just to prepare for this project, I wanted to find an alternative solution But now that I've actually got them apart, I'm wondering if I could still use this balancer. I have two ideas. You see, I've got a ring on the Mustang. On the Mustang balancer. I was telling you I was waiting for this part to come from England. This shipped out of Heathrow. I think it came pretty close to London, but I paid about 48 bucks for it, and I'm gonna pull. It's not rigidly attached. So this is a 60-2. So there's 60 teeth with 2 missing, so it's 58 teeth. So let me turn this balancer up there. It's upside down. So now our keys are pointing towards us. But you can see that the weight, there's your, I think this is a 28 ounce. I don't think it's a 50 ounce. I think it's a 28 ounce, but I have to double check that. But you can see that the weight is pretty much the same. I don't have the hat, just have them lined up by eye, but yeah, you can see the weight here and the weight there. So I believe that I could bolt this. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself. You see what I did here. I took and put this on a lathe. First I grabbed on here. This is an 1 7/8. So I had this grabbed on by a 5C board collet, 1 5/8, and I ran the lathe at about 200 RPM because this is a real heavy weight in it. You know, you're putting a lot of imbalance on the lathe bearing. So I took it nice and slow. I didn't want to run this very high speed. I only ran it at about 200 RPM. And I went in there, and at first I was grabbing it here, so it would have been in the lathe like this. And I was trying to get in there with a cutter, and I didn't really feel comfortable with that. So then I went and took the pulley off, and I grabbed on this bore with the pulley off. That's 2 3/8, 2.375. So I found a 2 3/8 board collet, grabbed it by that, and it was running. I was thinking, all right, this diameter is on the center hub, right? So here's your rubber, and here's the center hub, and that's all one piece with the cast iron casting. And let me take the pulley off. Maybe that would help you. So you see that this is part of this main hub. And when I was running this on the lathe, this balancer ring is not true at all. It's not true. It wobbles. It has a lot of run out compared to this. And you see what I did. I went in here and I tapped that hole. These holes are 5/16 pretty much exactly, which is the right tap drill size for a 3/8 16. So I just went in there with a regular 3/8 16 tap and tapped 1, 2, 3, 4 of these holes, and then I went in and like we were just talking about, I grabbed it on there, so it was in the lathe like this, and that was easier for me. This was running out from this 4 or 5 thousandths, which, hey, we're not going to the moon here. That's all right. It's not perfect, but good enough for me. And what I did is I went in there and I turned down the hub diameter to this. I believe this is 102 millimeters. I'm pretty sure it was when I ordered it from England. And now the ring, it fits on there nicely. It has just a slight press fit. And my plan originally was, and you see I faced this, and I wanted this to be perfectly perpendicular with the crankshaft, because I wanted my tone ring here, my trigger wheel, to run perfectly true. I didn't want it to be wobbling as the engine was running. I want this to be a nice clean signal to the computer. So I went ahead and machined this. You see I got almost full cleanup. I took maybe about 5 or 6 passes, just light passes, because it was like chink, 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 chink every time it went around. So I was just waiting until I got nearly full cleanup, and you see I've got that. So now I know that these two faces are nice and square, and my ring will be all right, but I'm going to be bolting to the ring and piloting on the hub. And I've modified this. I shaved off some material, so it's probably not perfectly balanced anymore. And my thought process is, well, I removed a little bit of material from here, but I'm also going to put 1 bolt here. So I'm going to have 1, 2, 3 bolts. And that maybe I'm thinking, all right, I did shave off some material. This bolt and this bolt are 180 degrees apart from each other, so they cancel each other out as far as balance goes. So this little guy here hanging off is going to be the imbalance, but I removed some material, so I'm adding it back on there. Like I said, if this was going to be a NASCAR engine and I was going to be running it at 8,000 RPM for hours and hours, yeah, okay, I agree that's not the best way to do it. But I was thinking, okay, for my Mustang, it's probably fine. So I went through all of this effort to get to this point, and it only costed me, you know, like I said, $47 for this ring, which I could always use on a different project. But then when I got this off, I just pulled this off a couple days ago. I used a steering wheel puller and grabbed down to 2 of these bolts and pulled it off. And now that I'm comparing it to the Explorer balancer, let me get that set back up again, and we'll talk about that. So my ECU doesn't care. I can program in. Do I have a 60-2 wheel or do I have a 36-1 wheel? It doesn't care. I just program that in there, and it'll run either trigger wheel. So I guess I don't care what wheel I run, but this is a stock Ford Explorer balancer with a stock ring, and this one's pressed right onto the center hub, whereas this one I would have to pilot off the center hub and bolt it on, and I'm sure it would work. But also another thing that I did, and I'll show you, is I'll show that the timing cover. The timing cover on the Mustang is supposed to be identical to the Explorer, but it's not, and I'll show you the differences in a second here. But I'm thinking, since I ordered an Explorer timing cover, it has the provisions for the timing sensor, for the crank sensor. So I could just bolt an Explorer crank sensor right onto the Explorer timing cover and run the Explorer balancer, and everything should line right up. Maybe I'll put a couple spacers between the sensor and the timing cover, but let me flip them back around. So what I'm thinking is, in order to run this, I was reading a forum post about a guy who was going to put this on a lathe and put a part off tool and part this pulley off and put a spacer between the pulley, and that would work. That would work, but that seems to me to be a little bit too much work. What I'm thinking of doing is just getting a piece of stainless steel bar stock, machining the OD to this exact OD, machining the ID to this exact ID, and just making myself a spacer this tall. I'm going to have to go to the machine shop and measure this distance precisely, and I would just get a spacer, a ring, you know, just a ring to go on the crank. And then we're just going to be, when we tighten the crank bolt down, that spacer is just going to be sandwiched, compressed between the timing gear and the balancer. And shit, that should make our pulleys line up. Now the pulleys are different, the different diameters. This is a little bit smaller. This is just about a 6-inch diameter. This my 6-inch calipers don't go big enough, but this is probably about 6.5-ish. So I guess I'm going to be running my water pump and my alternator and power steering pump a little bit slower, but I think that should be all right. I think that should be okay. But I guess I'm just trying to find what's the simplest way to do it and what's the most reliable way of doing it. And I'm kind of, my plan was to try and run this the whole time. You know, I was trying to run this the whole time, and I knew that they were different. But now that I've got them both in front of me, I see how and why they're different, and I think I can get this one to work. I kind of want to run this one because it's got the stock balancer on it, and plus I haven't machined it at all. You know, it's untouched. The balance has not been affected, whereas I have affected the balance somewhat on this one. So I guess I'm a little bit torn. Plus I put some work and effort into it. It's not a lost cause, but I think that my instincts are telling me to try and run this, and the only downside is I got to run that little spacer, and I'm hoping that our oil seal will, looks like it was riding right about here, so I'm wondering if maybe will we still seal oil. I guess maybe that will be the deciding factor. But if I'm running the Explorer timing set, I'm sorry, the Explorer timing cover, this should I mean, they're the same darn thing, you know, they're the same darn thing. So maybe I should measure, the distance of this on the two balancers. Oops. So if we go like this, I'm gonna pull my English trigger wheel off of there. And then if I just stand this and stack them like that, it's hard to see, but the Explorer one is about, I would say about 50 thou shorter than the Mustang one. I guess I'm not sure why they did it that way. But you can see how much thicker this area is compared to this area, because they've got the trigger wheel here, which is why I wanted to put my trigger wheel here, because I knew I would have the room between the balancer and the timing cover. But I guess you can kind of see, I thought I had this figured out, but now I guess I'm kind of rethinking my plan, is what I'm trying to say. And the timing marks are different because the timing arrows are in different spots on the Mustang versus the Explorer. You know, top dead center is here on the Explorer, and top dead center is more so here, and they're not. Our keyways, we gotta point our keyways straight up. That's how it would be out on the when top dead center number one, the keyway is straight up. You know, but you know what I'm trying to say is the timing marks are a little bit different, but we have to pay attention to that. My plan is to pull the heads off, and I'm changing the heads and line that up exactly with the heads off, so I can get a true top dead center. And but if I run the Explorer balancer, and Explorer timing cover, and Explorer crank sensor, and Explorer crank sensor pointer, timing pointer, we should be just fine. Whereas if I'm going to run a combination of an Explorer timing cover, Explorer sensor, and Mustang balancer, that's going to require some adjustments of our where our these timing marks would be invalid. They'd be inaccurate. Whereas if I ran that, they'd still be accurate. So I guess the only downside I'm thinking is I got to machine up that little spacer ring. So let me think about that a little bit more, but that's what I wanted to share. And plus I don't know if, I haven't really looked around, but that's the differences between an Explorer and at least, I don't know if they ran these on the Fox bodies, but the 94-95 Mustang 302 balancer. Okay, so we got the oil drain fitting in. I put a little bit of black RTV on the oil pan, and then I put red Loctite on the threads, and I cranked it down nice and tight. So I think that'll be good. So I'm gonna go put this back out in the car, and then I will talk to you about the balancer a little bit more. All right, back to the balancers again. So as you can see, I made this little spacer. So I had a real bad day at the machine shop yesterday. I don't know why. I just wasn't on point like I usually am, but I got it done. So what I did is I measured the difference from here to here, and that's 0.288 inches. So this is a 0.288 or 288 thousandths thick spacer. And then the OD is 1 7/8, 1.875. Then the ID is 1.4. What I did is I measured the bore, and if you look in there, there's a step. So the bore is, I think this is just a free section, but then this is the press fit section. So I didn't want this, I wanted this to be a slip fit. I didn't want it to be a press fit. So it's a little bit too big. I probably maybe could have gone maybe 1.390, 1.395, but it's okay. It fits on the crankshaft, and I filed the keyway in there. So now this is just going to space. It's just going to space this balancer up, and now you can see they're in the same plane. So I think this is what I'm gonna run, but I guess the only concern I have is that now there's 288 0.288 inches less of crank engagement. But I think that should be okay. I guess we could get a longer crank bolt, and plus the crank bolt won't be fully engaged either. But I think it should still be fine. And I think that the pros kind of outweigh that con. You know, the con was I had to make the spacer, so that's I made it. Now the only con is that this is a little bit smaller, so my alternator will be driving a little bit slower. So I'm at idle speed. I'm hoping she still charges, and then we have a little bit less crank engagement, and this is going to be hanging, you know, farther off of the crankshaft, which I think that should be okay. I don't think that that's going to be a problem. And now we have a completely untouched, as it came off the truck, balancer. The weight hasn't been messed with, and this is a factory 36-1 trigger wheel, and it's I think just going to be more of a bolt-on for us than what we had to do with this to get it to work. And this probably would still work. I guess I have it as a backup option. There's my trigger wheel, and there's a wastegate, so we're gonna get into that soon. It's a 46mm wastegate, so I'm waiting for a spring to come. I ordered a new spring. I got this from another one of the guys on the channel. He let me. I think I'm going to take it. I don't know if it's on loan or if I'm allowed to keep it, but I plan on keeping it if it works. This is a 46mm. How do you pronounce this? Is it tile? TL? Tile? I think it's just tile. Titanium aluminum? Is that what we're talking about here? I don't know. So this is the diaphragm, and then the spring. This is a. Looks like the paint on it is light blue. Light blue. I ordered a red. I ordered a large red, which is about a 10 point something PSI spring. So this is much stronger than that. This is he was running this on a 4G63T, which I think he was running 20 something pounds of boost. So this is much stronger than I need. I want, and that's another reason why I went with a 46mm wastegate. I was going to go with a 40mm, but then I'm thinking, because I want the wastegate to open at a lower boost pressure, at only 10 PSI, this is going to be opened more, you know, for more of the time on boost. And so that means a lot more exhaust gas are going to be coming through here. So I wanted a nice big wastegate. So that's kind of what I am working on now, waiting for that, and then the timing cover to show up. But I have a few other projects to keep me busy, so I'll just keep going.